The challenge that we're facing here at Mondelez is that we're changing from an operating model that was driven by countries and regions, so a geographic model, to one that's going to be driven much more by categories. And that involves shifting the P&L from individual markets to regional category teams. So it's a really big cultural change, as well as one that has a lot of operating implications. There are about 5,000 people across our organization who will be very directly impacted by the change we're making to this regional category-driven model. And we needed to be able to find a way that we could quickly get those people to understand why we were changing, understand what the changes would be, understand how they would be impacted, and what did they need to do to make it work. And I think what we've been able to develop in working with BTS in this work will allow us to do that. Because ultimately the change to any model like this, even if the model's right, it'll only work if people buy into it and internalize it and actually act in that way. And I think that's what we're going to see is happening. I think the BTS team was able to engage in this kind of activity and this kind of material really at three very different levels, which you don't often see. And I describe those levels as, at the first point, it was about being strategic and conceptual enough to kind of understand the change that we were going through, why it was really important, what were the key issues involved. And so the BTS team was able to kind of grasp things at that level just like that, very, very fast on the pickup on that. They were then able to translate that down into kind of practical, pragmatic, okay, well, if you're trying to achieve this, then what needs to happen down here in the organization? You know, which functions need to link up? How's that going to work? What kind of issues are you going to face? They could either add to the understanding we already had of that, or bring up new thoughts and ideas in those areas that we didn't necessarily have. And then the third layer is, well, how do you take all of that and turn it into the kind of training material that people will really engage in? And there's a certain, whether you call it creative or design sensibility, that the team brought to take the strategic and conceptual, practical and pragmatic, and then put them into a format that people would truly want to engage in. The spontaneous comments that have come back, I think pretty much from every session we've run, has been along the lines we've been talking about. It's like, wow, this material is really engaging. We had great conversations, great discussions around it. We got to really understand what these changes truly mean for us and not just kind of have it all gloss over, because the material forces you to really engage in it and think about it in ways that, the traditional sort of, PowerPoint presentation just isn't going to. And that's been consistent feedback. And, we've run sessions in, Melbourne, Mumbai, Brazil, Egypt, Dubai. I mean, we've run them in dozens of locations around the world, and, by the time we're finished, it'll be many more than that. And the feedback's been consistent. If you take it to its highest level, Mondelez's mission is creating delicious moments of joy. You can only do that through the products that we create. And that's what our region category operating model is all about, is getting more of those great brands, those great products, those great initiatives to more consumers in more markets, faster, bigger, better, and in a more consistent way so that we execute them really well. And in terms of this specific project that we've been working on to define that regional category model and roll it out, I see the BTS material as being a great contribution to that. We will have had a more effective rollout of this model because we worked with BTS and we used these tools and we worked with the specific team that we worked with than we would have otherwise. I have no doubt about that.